I called my son, and a robotic voice said, "The number you have dialed is no longer in service." I called my daughter-in-law. She answered, "Oh, hi, Eleanor. We moved cities 2 months ago. We completely forgot to tell you." I took a deep breath and hung up. 1 month later, I received a call from their bank, looking to collect a debt. Those words still burn my throat. I can still feel how my fingers trembled as I dialed that number for the 5th time in a row. I thought it was a phone network error. I thought maybe my son, Liam, had forgotten to pay his bill. I never imagined that the error was me, that I was the obstacle they needed to erase. If this story touches your heart, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any confessions like this one, because what comes next is going to leave you speechless. My name is Eleanor. I'm 68 years old, and I've lived alone in Street Louis for 5 years, ever since my husband, Arthur, went to heaven and left me with this silence that weighs more than any piece of furniture in this house. Liam is my only son, my everything, the boy I carried in my arms, nursed through fevers, cheered for at every graduation, the man to whom I gave my entire life and my money. 3 years ago, Liam came to my house with that nervous smile he always wore when he needed something. He had Chloe, his wife, on his arm. She was smiling too, but differently, with that kind of smile that never quite reaches the eyes. "Mom," he said while drinking coffee at my kitchen table, "I have an incredible opportunity. I can open my own auto repair shop. It's my dream," he continued. "But the bank is asking for a down payment of $50,000. $50,000. The exact amount I had saved over 30 years running the fabric and craft store I inherited from my father. Every yard of linen, every spool of cotton, every customer who haggled over pennies, it was all saved in that account. Mom," Liam went on, "I promise I'm going to pay you back. Little by little, but I'll return every cent and will come to visit you every month. I swear it on Dad's grave." He swore on Arthur. How could I say no? I sold the storefront, closed my father's business, and handed over all that money without signing a single paper, without asking for collateral, because he was my son, and a mother doesn't ask for receipts from her own flesh and blood. For the first 6 months, they came religiously. Every Sunday, Liam knocked on my door with a box of donuts, telling me how the shop was growing. Chloe would stay in the car scrolling through her phone, but at least they came. Then the visits spaced out. Once a month, every 2 months. Then, just quick calls. "Mom, we're swamped, but we love you." Until one Tuesday in October, I dialed his number as I always did. "The number you have dialed is not in service." I thought it was a joke. I dialed again. Same recording. With sweating hands, I looked for Chloe's number. She answered on the 4th ring. "Hello? Chloe. It's me, Eleanor. I can't reach Liam and—" "Oh, Eleanor." Her voice sounded distant, as if she were doing something else while talking. "Yeah, we moved to Austin like 2 months ago. With all the chaos of the move, we forgot to tell you. Do you need something?" They forgot. Like someone forgets to buy milk at the grocery store. "And why did you change your numbers?" I asked, trying to control the tremor in my voice. "Oh, the local plans are cheaper down there. Listen, Eleanor, I'm really tied up right now. I'll text you Liam's new number later, okay?" She hung up. She never sent that text. I sat in my living room, staring at the phone as if it were about to explode. The afternoon turned into night. I didn't turn on the lights. I just stayed there, in the dark, slowly understanding that my $50,000 had purchased my own abandonment. I spent an entire month calling the last number I had for Liam. 30 days sending texts that stayed marked as delivered but never read. 30 nights, wondering what I had done wrong. Until one morning in November, my phone rang. It was an unknown number from Chicago. "Mrs. Eleanor Robinson?" said a professional male voice. "Yes, that's me. I'm calling from First National Bank. I'm Mr. Peterson from the collections department. Ma'am, we have a problem with Mr. Liam Robinson's loan. You are listed as a co-signer on a loan for $20,000. The loan is 3 months past due, and we need you to contact us urgently to avoid legal action." The floor disappeared beneath my feet. I didn't sign as a co-signer for any loan," I whispered. "Ma'am, I have your scanned ID and your signature on the contract right here. Did you sign documents related to Robinson Auto Works? And then I remembered. A year and a half ago, Liam arrived with papers. They're just business formalities, Mom. The accountant says he needs your signature on these forms. Just bureaucratic red tape. I signed without reading, trusting him. My own son had made me his co-signer without telling me. Ma'am, Mr. Peterson continued, if we don't receive payment in the next 30 days, we will be forced to initiate the foreclosure process on your assets. Do you understand the situation? I understood perfectly. They weren't looking for me to see how I was doing. They were looking for me to pay. And my son had disappeared. But what I found when I decided to go look for them was much worse than I imagined. Mr. Peterson gave me 7 days to present a payment plan, 7 days to get money I didn't have, 7 days to save my house from foreclosure for a debt I never knew existed. That night I didn't sleep. I stayed in the kitchen with a cup of tea that went cold in my hands while I reviewed every paper I had stored away. Bank statements, old receipts, the deed to my house, and there, in a folder I had barely touched in a year and a half, I found the documents Liam had given me to sign. I read them completely for the first time. Co-signer agreement, it said in big bold letters. And further down, my signature, my ID, my address, everything in order, everything legal. I had signed my own trap without knowing it. It was hard to breathe. I felt as if someone were squeezing my chest with both hands. Because it wasn't just the money, it was the betrayal. It was understanding that my son had used me as a tool, like a useful object to get what he needed. The next day, I called the bank again. I asked to speak directly with Mr. Peterson. Mrs. Robinson, he said, with that voice that mixed compassion with procedure. I understand your situation, but legally you are responsible for this debt. Mr. Liam Robinson stopped paying 3 months ago. At first, we thought it was a temporary delay, but now his phones are disconnected, and he doesn't answer emails. Emails? I asked. What emails? The ones we sent to the address provided. Have you not received notifications? They had given his old address, the one in Street Louis. Of course, they didn't receive anything. They had vanished on purpose. Mr. Peterson, how much do I have to pay to avoid foreclosure? I heard papers shuffling on the other end. With the accrued interest and late fees, we would need an immediate payment of $3,000 to freeze the legal process and then agree on monthly payments for the principal debt. $3,000. My entire Social Security check for 3 months wouldn't cover that. And if I can't? I whispered. Then we initiate foreclosure. I am very sorry, ma'am. I hung up the phone and stared at my living room wall. That wall, where a photo of Liam's first communion still hung, his innocent boyish smile, in his white suit. Arthur was beside him, proud. What do I do, Arthur? I asked the photograph. What do I do with this son we raised? The silence was my only answer. I spent the next few days like a sleepwalker. I tried calling Liam 100 more times. I searched on Facebook, Instagram, any social network I knew. Nothing. It was as if they had been erased from the world. Until my neighbor Susan, who is like a sister to me even though we don't share blood, saw me crying on the patio while hanging laundry. Eleanor, what's wrong? She approached, drying her hands on her apron. I've seen you looking down for days. And I told her everything. Every detail, every dollar, every signature, every unanswered call. Susan hugged me while I cried on her shoulder like I hadn't cried since Arthur's funeral. That boy has no forgiveness from God, she murmured, stroking my hair. But you're not going to sit there with your arms crossed, are you? You're not one to give up. I don't know what to do anymore, Sue. I really don't. Well, the first thing is to go find them. Face to face. Make them tell you to your face why they did this. She was right. I needed to look him in the eyes. I needed to understand. With the $800 I had saved for emergencies, I bought a bus ticket to Austin, a long trip that felt like 4 years. I carried the folder with all the documents, the bank statements, the transfers I had made to them. I also carried an old photograph of Liam when he was 5, running in the park with a melting popsicle in his hand. I had kept it in my wallet ever since. I don't know why I took it out during the trip, maybe to remind myself that once, a long time ago, that boy loved me. I arrived in Austin at sunset. I rented a room in a cheap motel near the station. The room smelled of mildew and disinfectant, but it didn't matter. I wasn't on vacation. The next morning began my search. I asked at auto shops in the industrial zone, "Do you know Robinson Auto Works?" Nobody knew anything. I walked until my knees ached. I spent money on Ubers I shouldn't have spent. I was about to give up when I stopped by a convenience store near their old apartment building back in Street Lewis. Wait, I remembered Mrs. Higgins. Before I left, Mrs. Higgins, the owner, had told me something. "Eleanor, what are you doing here?" she had asked. "I'm looking for my son." Mrs. Higgins lowered her voice as if sharing a dangerous secret. "Look, I shouldn't get involved, but you were always good to me." I heard Chloe bragging to another neighbor before they left. She said they were moving to Whispering Pines Estates, a gated community in Austin. I saw she got a brand new black BMW SUV, one of those that cost a fortune. I saw it because she parked right here to say goodbye. BMW, gated community, Whispering Pines. While I feared losing my house for their debt, they were living in luxury. Something broke inside me at that moment. It wasn't my heart, that was already broken. It was something deeper. It was the last thread of excuse I was still weaving to justify them. I took a taxi to Whispering Pines Estates. "The fancy ones," I told the driver. "Which one?" "There are a few out that way. The most expensive one." The driver looked at me through the rearview mirror but didn't ask any more questions. And when I finally arrived at that house, when I rang that doorbell, the way my daughter-in-law received me made me understand that I was no longer her mother-in-law. I was her nuisance. The subdivision was like something out of a magazine, a pretty name to hide ugly stories. The guardhouse had more security than a bank. The guard stopped me at the entrance. "Which house are you going to, ma'am?" I didn't know the number. I didn't even know the street. "I'm looking for the Robinson family, my son and his wife. He owns an auto shop." The guard checked his list on the computer. "Full name?" "Liam James Robinson," he typed. Frowned. Typed again. "No one appears under that name registered." Of course not. They had put the house in Chloe's name, or under an LLC, or anything to keep them hidden. "Ma'am, if you don't have the exact house number, I can't let you in. Subdivision rules." I stood there, with the midday sun burning my head, feeling smaller than ever. A foolish old woman looking for her son among houses that cost millions. "Do they have a black BMW SUV?" I asked suddenly. "My son's wife has one." The guard sighed. He shouldn't give me information, but something in my face must have sparked pity. "There are 3 families with black BMWs here. One on Oak Street number 47, another on Maple 132, and another on Cedar 89. I memorized the addresses as if my life depended on it. "Thank you," I whispered. "Hey, ma'am," he called as I walked away. "If they aren't expecting you, they won't let you in. The rules are strict. Call them first." But they wouldn't answer my calls. I waited in a nearby park for 2 hours, sitting on a bench, watching young moms pass by with expensive strollers and children in private school uniforms. This was Liam's world now, a world where I didn't fit. When the sun began to go down, I went back to the guardhouse. Another guard was on shift. "I'm going to my son's house," I said with more firmness. 47 Oak Street. He checked his list. "Are they expecting you?" "Yes," I lied. For the first time in my life, I lied to enter my own son's life. He let me pass. I walked through those perfect streets, with their manicured lawns and luxury cars parked in the driveways. Each house was bigger than my entire home in Street Louis. I found Oak Street. I counted the numbers. 45, 46, 47, and there it was. A 2-story house, modern facade, enormous windows, and in the driveway, shining under the sun, a black BMW with new Texas plates. My heart beat so fast I thought I'd have a heart attack right there on my son's sidewalk. I walked to the door. I rang the bell. I heard footsteps on the other side. The door opened. It was Chloe. She was wearing brand-name activewear, the kind you see in shop windows where I never entered, because everything cost what I earned in a month. She had her hair in a perfect ponytail, flawless makeup, freshly done nails. She looked me up and down as if evaluating how much dirt I had brought from the outside world onto her clean porch. "Eleanor." It wasn't a warm greeting. It was a declaration of annoyance. "What are you doing here?" "I need to talk to Liam," I said, trying to sound calm. You didn't say you were coming. Why didn't you give me your new number? Because we're busy, Eleanor. Chloe sighed as if I were a persistent door-to-door salesperson. Look, we're right in the middle of something. Liam has a Zoom meeting with some clients. Couldn't you have called first? I tried. 100 times. We stood staring at each other. She blocked the entrance with her body. I clutched my purse, where I carried all the bank documents. It's about the loan, I finally said. The bank is coming after me. They're going to foreclose on my house if I don't. Liam! She yelled toward the inside without letting me finish. Your mom is here. I heard movement. And then I saw him. My son was coming down the stairs in an expensive dress shirt, designer jeans, shoes that cost more than my monthly rent. He had grown a beard. He looked older, prosperous. When he saw me, his expression wasn't joy. It was panic. Mom, what are you doing here? That question hurt more than any physical blow. What am I doing here? Liam, the bank is suing me. I signed as a co-signer on your loan without knowing it and… I know, he interrupted me, lowering his voice, looking nervously to the sides as if the neighbors could hear. It's been complicated, Mom, with the move, opening the new shop, the expenses. I looked at the house, I looked at the SUV, I looked at his clothes. I see you have plenty of expenses. Chloe crossed her arms. It's not as easy as it looks, Eleanor. Maintaining a business requires investment. Sometimes you have to sacrifice things to grow. Sacrifice, like sacrificing your mother by throwing her to the bank wolves. I need to pay $3,000 this week or they take my house, I said, looking directly at Liam. The house where you grew up, where your father died, where I kept all your memories. Liam avoided my gaze. Mom, I don't have that amount right now, but I can give you, I don't know, $1,000 for next week. Does that sound okay? $1,000? When I had given him $50,000 without thinking twice. And the rest? We'll gather it, I swear. Just give us time, he had sworn before, on his father. And here we were. Chloe went into the house and came back with an envelope. Here's $200 in cash. It's what we have right now, she said, extending it to me. We'll deposit the other $800 during the week. I took the envelope. $200. It wasn't even a tip for them. Thanks for coming to visit, Eleanor. Call next time, okay? Chloe was already closing the door. Liam looked at me one last time. I saw something in his eyes that broke my soul. It wasn't guilt, it was relief that I was leaving. Take care, Mom. The door closed. I stood there, in the driveway of that house my money had helped pay for, with $200 in my hand and $50,000 of debt in my heart. But what I discovered when I returned home was even more heartbreaking. My son hadn't just forgotten me. He had erased me from his life like one erases a mistake. The trip back to Street Louis was the longest of my life. Hours staring out the bus window, watching landscapes pass by that my brain didn't register. I could only see one thing: my son's face closing that door. I used the $200 they gave me to pay for the motel and the bus. I had $20 left in my pocket when I arrived at my house that night. Susan was waiting for me with hot chicken noodle soup. How did it go? She asked, although my face already gave her the answer. They received me like a beggar knocking on their door, I said, as the tears finally flowed, as if I were in the way, as if my presence dirtied their new rug. Susan hugged me while I ate between sobs. That boy will regret this, she murmured. I swear to God Almighty he will regret this. But I didn't want revenge. I just wanted my son back. The $800 promised never arrived. The week passed. Another passed. Every time I dialed the number Chloe had finally given me, after begging her, it rang busy or went to voicemail. The bank called every day. Mrs. Robinson, we need to talk about the payment plan. Mrs. Robinson, time is running out. Mrs. Robinson, if we don't receive payment this week, we proceed with legal action. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. I lost so much weight my clothes hung on me like rags on a scarecrow. One night, after another call from the bank where they told me I needed to pay $3,000 before Friday or the foreclosure would begin, I did something I had never done. I took out all the savings remaining from my Social Security. I went to the bank. I paid $3,000 that were supposed to be for my heart medication, for my doctor's visit next month, for any emergency. It all went to pay a debt that wasn't even mine. The bank officer handed me the receipt. With this, we halt the foreclosure, ma'am. But remember, you must continue paying the monthly installments on the rest of the debt. That's $18,000 more in payments of $600 each month for 3 years. $600 a month. My entire check was $1,200. How am I going to pay that? I whispered. The officer looked at me with that useless compassion of someone who knows they can't help. Do you have family who can support you? I let out a bitter laugh that surprised even me. My family is the problem. That same afternoon, Susan came over with her phone in her hand. Eleanor, sit down. I need to show you something. Sue, I'm tired. I don't. Sit down. I sat. Susan opened Facebook. Her daughter had taught her to use it last year, and now she spent hours looking at recipes and photos of her grandkids. My daughter helped me look for your daughter-in-law. We found her profile. She showed me the screen. It was Chloe. Her profile picture showed the BMW SUV. She was wearing dark sunglasses, smiling. She started scrolling through the posts, one by one. Photos in fancy restaurants. Meals that cost what I spent on food for the whole week. Photos at the beach. Weekend getaway in Cancun. Deserved. Number YOLO. Photos of the house. Our new living room. Italian furniture. Number dreams. Number home sweet home. Photos of shopping. Bags from luxury stores. Because a girl has to spoil herself. Number self-care. And then, Susan stopped on a specific post. It was a photo of Chloe in front of the BMW. The text said, "When you work hard and grind, life rewards you. Thanks to my effort and determination, we achieved all this." For those who say success is inherited, nope. Success is built with your own sweat. Number self-made. Number no handouts. Number hustle. Number girl boss. No handouts. I read those words 5 times, 10 times, until they stopped being letters and became daggers. My effort, my sweat, the $50,000 I took from 30 years of selling fabrics didn't exist for her. I didn't exist for her. Is there more? I said with a tense jaw. We kept scrolling down the profile. There was a post from 2 months ago. Toxic family is real. Sometimes you have to distance yourself from people who only want to take advantage of you, even if they are blood. My life improved when I set boundaries. Number toxic free, number boundaries, number mental health. I stared at that post without blinking. I was the toxic family. Me, who gave them everything. Me, who was paying their debt with my last savings. I was the one taking advantage. Something broke inside me at that moment. It wasn't pain. I had already felt the pain 1,000 times. It was something different. It was clarity. I saw with absolute sharpness what I had been blind to see. My son had used me like an ATM. When the ATM had no more money to give, he simply found another bank. "Sue," I said, with a voice I didn't recognize as mine. "I need your son, the lawyer, to come see me." "Matthew, yes, tell him to come tomorrow and bring everything he knows about debts, co-signers, and foreclosures." Susan looked at me with a mix of surprise and pride. "Now that's it, Eleanor. Now I recognize you." That night I didn't cry. For the first time in weeks, I didn't cry. I stayed awake until 3 in the morning searching the internet for everything I could on co-signer laws. Susan had taught me to use Google last year, but I had never used it for anything important. That night, it became my best friend. I read about rights of co-signers, responsibilities of principal debtors, what happens when the principal debtor disappears, and I found something that made my heart beat faster. The co-signer who pays the debt of the principal debtor can claim everything the debtor owns as a form of reimbursement. Everything, including his shop. But what I discovered next was even worse. My son hadn't just used me. He had erased me from his life long before moving, and the proof was waiting for me in a place I had never looked. Matthew arrived the next day at 10 in the morning. He was 35, serious but kind, with a briefcase and that clear way of speaking that makes you feel someone finally understands. I sat opposite him at my kitchen table, the same one where Liam had asked for the $50,000 3 years ago. "Mrs. Robinson," Matthew began, taking out a notepad. "My mother told me everything. I need you to show me every document you have. Transfers, contracts, texts, everything." I gave him everything. the complete folder I had kept for years, the bank statements showing the transfers to Liam, the papers where I signed as a co-signer unknowingly, the bank receipts for the $3,000 I had just paid. Matthew reviewed every paper carefully, taking notes, frowning. After half an hour, he looked up. "Mrs. Robinson, I have good news and bad news. Tell me the bad first. Legally, you are responsible for this debt. You signed as a co-signer, which means you and your son are equally responsible to the bank. If he doesn't pay, they charge you. You already know that." I nodded. "But the good news," he continued, "is several things. First, you can sue your son for fraud if you prove you were misled into signing. Second, you can demand he pays back every cent you've put in. And third, and this is important, if you are paying the debt he contracted, you can claim everything your son owns as reimbursement. Everything? Everything. Including the auto shop. If the shop is in his name or the LLC he formed, and you can prove your money helped buy it, you can seize that shop as payment for what he owes you." My heart beat stronger. How much is a mechanic shop worth? Depends on the location, equipment, clientele, but if it's well positioned in Austin, it could be worth between $150,000 and $200,000. More than he owed me. And the house where they live? Matthew shook his head. "If the house is in your daughter-in-law's name or rented, we couldn't touch it. But the shop? That's different. Businesses are attachable assets." I stayed silent, processing. "What do you recommend I do?" Matthew closed his notebook. "Honestly, Mrs. Robinson, my legal recommendation is different from my human recommendation. Legally, you should sue now. But humanly, he's your son. I'd tell you to try one last time to talk to him. Let him know the legal consequences. Give him a chance to pay before proceeding. I already tried talking to him. He shut the door in my face. Then try it in writing. A clear text message with copies of these documents attached. Let there be a record that you gave him a chance. And if he doesn't answer or refuses, then yes, proceed with everything." Matthew was right. I needed to try one more time, but this time not as a pleading mother, this time as a woman who knew her rights. That afternoon, with help from Susan and her granddaughter Betty, who knew how to use smartphones better than anyone, I drafted a text. "Liam, I paid $3,000 to the bank to stop the foreclosure on my house, the house that would have been yours someday. I am asking you for the last time to pay the debt you contracted. I have a legal right to recover every dollar I have put in, including the $50,000 I lent you. If I don't receive an answer in 5 days, I will proceed legally. I don't want to do this, but I am not going to lose my home for your irresponsibility. Your mother." Betty hit send. The message marked as delivered in 2 seconds. We waited. 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Delivered changed to read. And then nothing. There was no answer. 1 day passed. 2 days. 3 days. The message stayed there. Read, ignored. On the 4th day, I got a message. But not from Liam. It was from an unknown number. It said, "Mrs. Robinson, I'm Chloe's cousin. My cousin asked me to tell you to please stop harassing her family. They are going through tough financial problems, and your pressure only makes things worse. My cousin says you should have known what you were getting into when you signed those papers. No one forced you. Please, stop looking for them." I read that message 5 times. No one forced me. They were right. No one put a gun to my head to sign. They just used something much more effective. My motherly love. I showed the message to Matthew. "Perfect," he said. "This message is gold. They are admitting they know about the debt and refuse to pay. Plus, using third parties to threaten you can be considered harassment. Do you want to proceed?" I looked at Arthur's photo in the living room, that photo where he smiled with baby Liam in his arms. "Arthur," I whispered, "forgive me." And I told Matthew, "Proceed." But before Matthew started the legal paperwork, something inside me told me to investigate more. If they were going to fight dirty, I needed to know everything. That night, Betty showed me something that changed the game completely. "Mrs. Robinson, does your son have an email address?" "Yes, but I never use mine." "But do you have an email?" "Yes, one Liam helped me open years ago, but I don't even know the password." Betty smiled. "Let's recover it." She helped me get into my email, using my phone number to recover the password. When we finally opened the inbox, I froze. There were 127 unread emails. Betty started opening them one by one, and there it was. Emails from Liam from the previous year. 8 different emails. Mom, I need you to lend me another $10,000 to expand the business. Mom, did you get my last email? It's urgent. Mom, the bank approved a line of credit, but I need to complete the down payment. Can you help me? Mom, why aren't you answering? I've called 3 times. Mom, I talked to Susan, and she says you're fine. So why are you ignoring me? Mom, I get it. If you don't want to support me, just say so. Mom, I think it's best we take some time. It hurts that you turn your back on me just when I need you most. Mom, Chloe is right. You know who's there for you when it really matters. The dates were there. All sent between May and August of last year. I never saw them. I never knew they existed. To me, my son had stopped calling suddenly, but to him, I had ignored him when he needed me most. Oh my God, I whispered. He thinks I turned my back on him. But there was more. In the sent folder, I found emails I never wrote. Emails from my account sent to Liam. I opened them with trembling hands. Liam, I've helped you enough. I don't plan to give you any more money. Don't look for me anymore. I need my space. Your wife is right to protect her assets. You should do the same. I never wrote those emails. Someone accessed my account, I said with a broken voice. Betty checked the login history. Look, Mrs. Robinson, it says here your account was accessed from Street Louis, from your house's IP address, but on dates when you didn't even know how to use email. There was only one person who had my password, Liam. He had helped me create the account himself. He had total access. My son had sent those emails pretending to be me, to have an excuse to distance himself, to justify to his wife why we stopped talking. Chloe probably never knew the whole truth. Liam had shown her those fake emails and said, "See? My mom rejected me. She turned her back on me." And then I understood everything. My son hadn't forgotten me by accident. He had erased me intentionally. He had constructed me as the villain in his own story, so he wouldn't feel guilty. And when I discovered why he did all this, when I understood the true motive behind every lie, everything made sense in the most painful way. I didn't sleep all night. I stayed in front of the computer Betty had left on, reading those fake emails Liam sent from my account over and over. Each word was a different stab wound. Because he hadn't just used me. He hadn't just robbed me. He had destroyed my reputation, my own voice, to justify his betrayal. At 6 a.m, Susan knocked on my door with hot coffee. "You didn't sleep," she said. It wasn't a question. I couldn't. She sat beside me, and we read everything again together. When we finished, Susan had tears in her eyes. "That boy is lost, Eleanor. He's not your son anymore. I don't know what happened to him, but the child you raised doesn't exist anymore." She was right. The Liam I knew, the one who cried when he saw stray dogs, the one who brought me flowers every Mother's Day, that boy died at some moment I didn't see coming. Matthew arrived at noon. I showed him the fake emails. "This is identity theft," he said immediately. "It's an additional crime. Mrs. Robinson, with this we can make a much stronger lawsuit." "I don't want to sue him for the emails," I said tiredly. "I just want my money back. I just want him to pay what he owes. Then we'll use this as evidence that he manipulated you deliberately. It strengthens your case." We spent the whole afternoon preparing documents. Matthew drafted a formal lawsuit for recovery of loan, $50,000, payment of bank debt, where I was co-signer, $17,000 remaining, damages, and fraud. Pre-judgment attachment, lien on the auto shop, Robinson Auto Works. "How long will this take?" I asked. "If he doesn't show up to the hearings or doesn't answer the lawsuit, we can have a judgment in 3 months. If he fights, it can take 6 months to a year more of agony. And if he pays the total debt before there's a judgment, everything stops. Then let's give him one last chance. Just one more." Matthew looked at me with that mix of admiration and sadness lawyers have when they know their client is being too nice. "Mrs. Robinson. He already had many chances. I know, But I need to look at myself in the mirror after this. I need to know I did everything possible. That afternoon, I called Liam from Susan's phone, a number he didn't know. He answered on the third ring. Hello? Liam, it's your mother. Silence on the other end. Then a sigh. Mom, didn't I tell you that? I found the emails. I interrupted him. My voice was firm, tearless. The fake emails you sent from my account, the ones you wrote pretending to be me. More silence. Long, heavy. I don't know what you're talking about, he said finally. Liam, I have the dates. I have the login history. I know it was you. Mom, You don't understand. Chloe was pressuring me. She said you only wanted to control us, that you cared more about your money than my happiness. I needed to show her that I had tried and you rejected me. There was the confession. So you made me into the villain of your marriage? No. I needed space. I needed her to see I had set boundaries with you. Boundaries? Liam? I gave you $50,000 without asking for anything in return. What boundaries did you need to set? Mom, it's over. We can't change the past, but we can fix the present. The bank sued me. I paid $3,000 of my pension to save my house. Your house. The house where your father is buried. Mom, I don't have that money right now. You don't have it? Or you don't want to? I don't have it. His voice rose in pitch. Do you think living here is cheap? Do you think maintaining the image, the shop, the SUV, everything is free? Chloe needs certain things to be happy. If I don't give them to her, she leaves me. She almost left me twice already. And there was the whole truth. My son had sold his mother to buy his wife's love. So, you're happy, I said with a hollow voice. You have your fancy house, your expensive truck, your happy wife. Just that your mother is paying your debts and losing her home. Mom, give me time. I swear when the business takes off. There is no more time, Liam. Matthew is filing a lawsuit tomorrow. Foreclosure on the shop, recovery of everything I lent you, all legal, all fair. Matthew, Susan's son? You hired him? Yes. Mom, you can't do this to me. It's my shop. It's my future. It was my money. It was my future too. The future I spent on you. Chloe is going to kill me. She's going to leave me. Everything I've worked for is going to go in the trash. And what about me, Liam? What would happen to me if I lost my house? Where would I live? On the street? Silence. Long, heavy. Mom, you have Social Security. You can rent something small. But I have a wife. I have responsibilities. In that moment, something died inside me. It wasn't love. A mother's love never dies completely. It was hope. The hope that my son still had some conscience. I understand, I said with absolute calm. Now I understand perfectly. Thanks for being so clear. Mom, wait. I hung up. Susan hugged me while the tears finally came out. But they weren't tears of sadness. They were of liberation. You can proceed, I told Matthew. No mercy, no concessions. I want everything the law allows me to recover. Matthew nodded. Understood. But before we could continue, Susan held up her phone. Eleanor, look at this. Your daughter-in-law just posted it. It was a new Facebook post from Chloe. A photo of her and Liam at a fancy restaurant toasting with wine. The text said, "When we eliminate negative energies from our life, everything flows better. Today we celebrate our freedom from toxic people who only seek to drag us into their misery. Life is too short to carry people who steal your peace. Number new beginnings, number positive vibes only, number toxic free, number family first." The post had 47 likes. One of the people who had liked it was Liam. My son was publicly celebrating having eliminated me from his life. I looked at that post for a long time, and then I did something that surprised myself. I smiled. Eleanor? Susan looked at me worriedly. I'm fine, I said. And it was true. For the first time in months, I am perfectly fine. Because I no longer have to carry the illusion that they will change. I no longer have to expect anything. I took off a necklace I always wore. It was a gold locket Arthur had given me when Liam was born. Inside it had a photo of baby Liam. I opened it. I took out the photo. I looked at it one last time. Goodbye, my baby, I whispered. Because the man you became, I don't know him. I put away the empty locket, and I told Matthew, now do it. I want it to hurt him as much as it hurt me. What I didn't know was that the pain was just beginning, but this time it wouldn't be mine. The lawsuit was filed on a Tuesday in February. Matthew delivered all the documents to the civil court in Street Lua and requested a pre-judgment attachment of the shop located in Austin. It might take a week to notify them, he explained. When they receive the summons, they'll have 20 days to answer or appear at the hearing. That week was strange. I felt like I was floating. Not sad, not happy, simply empty. Every morning I got up, made my coffee, looked at Arthur's photo in the living room. Did I do right? I asked him. Arthur didn't answer. Of course, but I imagined his voice. Eleanor, never let anyone trample on your value, not even your own blood. It was something he told me 3 months before dying. We were in the hospital, him connected to machines, me holding his hand. Promise me you're going to defend yourself, he had said with a weak voice. You're very noble, Eleanor. Too much, and people use that against you. Nobody uses me, Arthur. Not yet. But when I'm not here, promise me you won't let anyone make you feel less. I promised him. And now, 5 years later, I was keeping that promise. 10 days passed. I followed my normal routine. I went to the market. I cooked. I watched soap operas with Susan. I watered my plants, but every night I sat in front of the computer and searched for information. I searched for mechanic shops in Austin. I found Liam's on Google Maps. It had good reviews, excellent service, honest and fast, highly recommended. How ironic, honest with his customers, thief with his mother. I searched for property values in the area. The shop was in a prime location, near a main avenue. According to the estimates I found, a commercial property of those characteristics was worth between $150,000 and $200,000, more than enough to cover everything he owed me. I also found something else. The shop wasn't in Liam's name directly. It was in the name of a company, Ram Motors LLC. I searched the business registry. Liam appeared as the registered agent and majority shareholder. It was seizable. Matthew was right. I could recover my money, but something inside me still ached. Not for the money, for what the money represented, my son consciously choosing to destroy me. One night, 2 weeks after filing the lawsuit, I had a moment of weakness. I took out the old photo album I kept in the closet. Photos of Liam from baby to his wedding. Liam at 2, with his first tricycle. Liam at 6, missing his front teeth, smiling. Liam at 15, with his first summer job. Liam at 25, on his wedding day, hugging me. Thanks for everything, Mom. You're my hero. I fell asleep crying over that album. And I had a dream. Arthur was there, young again, like when we met. He took my hands. Eleanor, why are you crying? Because I lost my son. No, my love. He lost himself. You are still the same. But it hurts, Arthur. It hurts so much. I know. But pain is proof that you are human, that you truly loved. Don't let that pain make you doubt yourself. You are doing the right thing. I woke up at 3 a.m. with those words resonating in my head. You are doing the right thing. The next day, a certified envelope arrived. Proof of service, the stamp said. Liam and Chloe had been notified. The summons was delivered to the shop address. Liam signed for it. Now he knew. Now he had to decide if he would answer the lawsuit or ignore it. If he ignored it, I won automatically. If he answered, we would have to see each other in court. 3 days passed, and then my phone rang. It was a text from Liam, from the new number he had never wanted to give me. Mom, we need to talk, urgent. I didn't answer. 5 minutes later, Mom, please. This is serious. You can't seize my shop. It's my livelihood. I continued not answering. 10 minutes later, Mom, answer. I'm asking you, please. And then came the call. I let it ring. Once, twice, 5 times. On the 6th call, I answered. Eleanor Robinson. I said with a formal voice, as if speaking to a stranger. Mom, thank God. Look, I just received a notification from the court. This has to be a mistake, right? It is not a mistake. Mom, you can't be serious. Are you going to take my shop? The business I've worked for 3 years? The business I bought with $50,000? It was a loan. You were going to pay me back. When? Liam? In what year? Because so far I've only received $200, and meanwhile I paid $3,000 of your debt. Mom, please. We can fix this without lawyers, without lawsuits. We're family. Ah, now we are family. When you get notified of the lawsuit, now I am family. You have always been my family. I never said otherwise. Liam, I read the fake emails. I read Chloe's posts celebrating having eliminated me. I saw the like you gave them. I know exactly what I am to you. Silence on the other end. That was Chloe. I didn't think those things, but you supported them. With your silence, with your like, with every decision you made. Mom, listen. I talked to Chloe. She is willing to. Well, for us to pay you something, how about $10,000? It's what we can gather right now. $10,000. Out of more than $70,000 you owed me. No. No? Mom? We're making an effort. I don't want $10,000. I want everything. $50,000 from the loan plus $18,000 from the bank debt, plus damages. Everything. That's more than $70,000. I don't have it. But you have a shop worth $150,000. Sell it. Pay me. And we're even. Sell my shop? Mom, it's my life. What am I going to do without the shop? I don't know, Liam. Maybe the same thing I was going to do if I lost my house. Start from zero. But at least you are young. I am 68 years old. Mom, you have until the date of the hearing to get the money. If you pay me before, I withdraw the lawsuit. If not, let the judge decide. Mom, don't do this. I beg you. You beg me? Now you beg me? My voice broke for the first time. I begged you to answer my calls. I begged you to explain why you disappeared. I begged you to pay even a little of the debt. And what did you do? You blocked me. You humiliated me. And you celebrated eliminating me from your life. I'm sorry. His voice sounded small. I'm very sorry, Mom. I'm sorry too, Liam. I'm sorry I lost the son I raised, because that good boy I knew doesn't exist anymore. I hung up, and this time I didn't cry. I sat in my rocking chair, the one Arthur had made with his own hands when I was pregnant with Liam, and I rocked slowly. I felt something new. It wasn't pain. It wasn't rage. It was peace. The peace of someone who finally stopped carrying a weight that was never hers. But Liam and Chloe wouldn't stay quiet, and what they planned to stop me was so low that it ended up being their own sentence. The following days were a strange silence. Liam didn't call again. There were no messages. Nothing. I don't like that, Matthew said when I told him. When someone stops fighting suddenly, it means they are preparing something. Like what? I don't know. But stay alert. Keep all your important documents in a safe place. I followed his advice. I put all my papers in a metal box I kept at Susan's house. Copies of everything, just in case. 3 days before the hearing, I received an unexpected visit. It was 4 p.m. They knocked on my door. I opened it. It was a woman I didn't know, 40-something, dressed in a suit, briefcase in hand. Mrs. Eleanor Robinson? Yes, that's me. My name is Sarah Jenkins. I'm a social worker with Adult Protective Services. Can I come in? I need to ask you some questions. APS, Adult Protective Services. A bad feeling ran down my back. What is this about? We received an anonymous tip that you are living in at-risk conditions. Someone reported that you might need support, or even that you might be in a situation of mental vulnerability. I froze. Mental vulnerability? The report mentions that you suffer episodes of confusion, that you have been harassing relatives asking for money, and that you might be a victim of some type of cognitive decline. I just come to verify that you are okay. Liam. Or Chloe. Someone had reported me as senile. Come in, I said with a tense jaw. Check everything you want. Sarah entered and started asking questions. Did I know what day it was? Did I know where I lived? Did I remember my birth date? Did I have family? Why was I alone? I answered everything with absolute clarity. She checked my house, my clean kitchen, my tidy bathroom, my spotless living room, my medications organized by day of the week. Mrs. Robinson, she said finally. It is clear that you are perfectly fine, There is no indication of cognitive decline or risk conditions. I know. Do you have any idea who could have made this report? It's anonymous. My son. Or my daughter-in-law. I'm suing them for fraud and debts. I guess this is their way of defending themselves. Sarah tightened her lips. I understand. Unfortunately, false reports are more common than you think, especially in cases of family disputes. I am going to close the file as unfounded. If they bother you again, you can report it as harassment. Thank you. When Sarah left, I called Matthew immediately. They tried to declare me incompetent, I said with a voice trembling with rage. To invalidate the lawsuit, sons of… Matthew held back. Mrs. Robinson, this is serious, but it is also perfect, because now we have evidence of bad faith. They are going to look very bad before the judge. That night I couldn't sleep from pure indignation. It wasn't the money. It wasn't the money anymore. It was that my own son tried to make me pass for crazy to escape his responsibilities. But then something unexpected happened. The next day, early in the morning, they knocked on my door again. This time it was an older man, 60-something, gray hair, wearing mechanic's coveralls. Mrs. Robinson? Yes. Excuse the bother. My name is Frank Miller. Well, I was your son's partner at the shop. Was? Liam never told you about me, right? No. Frank sighed. Can I come in? I think there are things you need to know. I let him in. He sat in my living room nervously, twisting a cap between his hands. Ma'am, when Liam opened the shop 3 years ago, I put in $20,000. He put in the rest. We were going to be partners 50-50. I worked in that shop from day one. But 6 months ago, Liam told me the business wasn't making enough money, that we had to close my participation. He pressured me to sign some papers renouncing my share. He promised to return my $20,000 in monthly payments. And he never paid me. Not a dime. And I discovered why. The shop is prospering. It has good income. Liam lied to me to keep everything. I filed a lawsuit 3 months ago. I stayed silent. Processing. Why are you telling me this? Because I found out about your lawsuit. An acquaintance who works at the courthouse mentioned it. And I thought, maybe we can help each other. If you win the seizure of the shop, I lose my opportunity to recover my money. But if we work together, what do you propose? That we join the lawsuits. Between you and me, Liam owes us almost $100,000. If we achieve a joint foreclosure, we can liquidate the shop, divide the money according to what he owes each of us, and both recover ours. I looked at that man. I saw in his eyes the same fatigue, the same betrayal I felt. Did Liam make you sign as a co-signer for any loan without you knowing? No. But he made me sign partnership dissolution documents under deceit. It's still fraud. He was right. Talk to my lawyer. I gave him Matthew's phone number. He'll see how to proceed. Frank left with a mix of hope and sadness, and I stayed thinking, how many more people had my son betrayed? Matthew called that afternoon. Mrs. Robinson, I spoke with Mr. Miller. His case is solid. If we join forces, the lawsuit is unbeatable. Liam is going to lose the shop. Absolutely. Is that legal? Totally. You are 2 different creditors, claiming legitimate debts. The judge is going to order the liquidation of the main asset, which is the shop, and the money is distributed among the creditors according to what he owes them. And Liam? Liam is left with nothing, and even so probably won't reach to cover everything. He would have to pay the remainder with other assets or with monthly payments for years. For the first time in weeks, I smiled. Not from happiness, from justice. Proceed. The hearing was scheduled for Friday at 10 in the morning. Matthew picked me up early. I was wearing my best dress, that navy blue one I used for important occasions. Arthur always said that dress made me look strong. I needed to look strong. We arrived at the courthouse. It was an old building downtown, with cold hallways and the smell of old paper. In the waiting room, I saw Frank. He greeted me with a nod, and then I saw them arrive. Liam and Chloe. He was wearing a suit. She, an elegant dress and heels. They came with their own lawyer, a young man with a shark face. Liam saw me. Our gazes met. I saw in his eyes something that surprised me. Fear. He was afraid of me, of his own mother. Chloe shot me a look of pure poison. they called us into the room. The judge was a man of 50, graying hair, serious look. Case 2847, 2024. Robinson versus Robinson, plus accumulated lawsuit of Miller versus Robinson. And then it began. What happened in that room that day? What was said? What was revealed? What was destroyed? It changed everything forever. The judge reviewed the files for what seemed like an eternity. The silence in the room was so dense I could hear my own heart beating. "Good," he said finally. "We have here 2 lawsuits against Mr. Liam Robinson. The first, from his mother, Mrs. Eleanor Robinson, for recovery of a loan of $50,000, plus bank debt of $17,000, where she figures as co-signer, plus damages. The second, from Mr. Frank Miller, for fraudulent dissolution of partnership for $20,000. Both lawsuits request seizure of the same asset, the auto shop Robinson Auto Works. Is this correct?" "Yes, Your Honor," answered Matthew and Frank's lawyer in unison. "Mr. Robinson, do you wish to answer the lawsuit?" Liam's lawyer stood up. He was a thin man with glasses and a fake smile. "Your Honor, my client recognizes that there are pending debts, but argues that the plaintiffs are exaggerating the amounts. Furthermore, the mechanic shop is his only source of income. Seizing it would leave him without a livelihood." "I understand," said the judge. "Does your client have documentation that contradicts the amounts claimed?" "We are preparing. Do you have it or do you not?" "At this moment, no. But then the amounts are accepted until you prove otherwise." "Mrs. Robinson, do you wish to add anything?" Matthew gestured for me to stand up. I stood up. My legs were trembling, but my voice came out firm. "Your Honor, I gave my son $50,000 of my estate without asking him for anything in return because he was my son, and I trusted him. He made me sign as a co-signer for a loan without telling me, and when the bank collected from me, my son disappeared. He changed his phone number. He moved without telling me. He blocked me. I had to pay $3,000 from my Social Security to prevent them from foreclosing on my house. My son sent fake emails from my account to make me look bad before his wife. He tried to get APS to declare me mentally incompetent, and meanwhile, he and his wife live in luxury, in an elegant house, with an SUV worth almost $80,000, posting on social media that they are successful by their own effort. My voice broke on the last phrase. "Your Honor," I continued, "I don't want to destroy my son. I just want to recover what is mine, what I worked for 30 years, to be able to live my last years with dignity." I sat down. I felt tears on my cheeks, and I didn't matter. The judge looked at Liam. "Mr. Robinson, what do you have to say?" Liam stood up. His lawyer whispered something to him, but he ignored it. "Your Honor, everything my mom says is true. I owe her the money. I lied to her. I avoided her. I did terrible things." Chloe pulled on his arm, whispering furiously. Liam pulled away, but he was afraid. He continued. Fear of not being able to pay, fear of disappointing my wife, fear of admitting I had failed. So I built lies on top of lies until everything got out of control. He paused. He looked directly at me. "Mom, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for everything. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I need you to know that I never stopped loving you. I just stopped being a good son." The silence in the room was absolute. "And Mr. Miller?" asked the judge. Liam lowered his gaze. "I lied to him too. I stole his investment because I needed the money to maintain appearances I couldn't afford." Chloe stood up abruptly. "What are you saying? Don't say anything else." "Enough, Chloe," said Liam with exhaustion. "Enough lies." The judge banged his gavel. "Order in the court. Ma'am, sit down." Chloe sat, with her face red with fury. Liam's lawyer seemed to want to sink into his chair. "Your Honor," said Matthew, rising, "given the explicit confession of the defendant, we request immediate judgment, total seizure of the mechanic shop, liquidation of the asset, and proportional distribution among the creditors according to what is owed." The judge reviewed the papers again. "Given the explicit confession of the defendant, and considering the documentation presented that backs the claims, I dictate judgment in favor of the plaintiffs." He banged the gavel, Immediate seizure of the mechanic shop, Robinson Auto Works, located in Austin. An appraisal of the asset is ordered, followed by liquidation in public auction. The proceeds of the sale will be distributed proportionally between Mrs. Eleanor Robinson and Mr. Frank Miller, according to the proven debts. If the proceeds of the sale do not cover the totality of the debts, Mr. Liam Robinson must pay the remainder in monthly installments not to exceed 5 years. Another bang of the gavel. Case closed. You may withdraw. I had won. But I didn't feel victory. I felt emptiness. We left the room. In the hallway, Liam caught up to me. "Mom, wait." I stopped. I turned. Chloe came behind him, furious. "Are you happy?" she yelled at me. "Are you happy destroying your own son? Taking away everything he built? What he built with my money?" I responded calmly. "That was a gift. Parents help their children. Parents help. Children appreciate. They don't use, they don't abandon, they don't betray. You just want to control us. You always wanted to control his life." "Chloe." Liam's voice sounded tired. "Stop." "What? Now you defend her? You just lost everything because of her." "No, Chloe. I lost everything because of you. Because I had to keep you happy. Because I had to give you the fancy house, the expensive truck, the vacations, because you were never satisfied with what we had." Chloe paled. "Are you blaming me?" "I'm telling the truth. Something I should have done a long time ago." "Perfect." Chloe took off her wedding ring and threw it at him. "Then you don't need to put up with me anymore. When you lose the shop, when you have nothing, don't look for me, because I won't be there." She walked away, heels clicking down the hallway. Liam picked up the ring from the floor. He looked at it. He put it in his pocket. "I always knew she would leave if I lost the money," he said with a hollow voice. "I guess it's fair. I also left when you stopped being useful." He stood in front of me, so close and so far at the same time. "Mom, I know it means nothing now, but I'm sorry. I really am sorry." I looked at him. I saw the boy he was. I saw the man he became. "I'm sorry too, Liam. I'm sorry I didn't teach you better. I'm sorry that somehow I failed to raise you with stronger values." "No," he shook his head. "It wasn't your fault. You taught me well. I chose to ignore everything you taught me." He turned to leave, but he stopped. "The shop is going to be worth about $150,000. After paying the debts of you two, I'm going to still owe about $20,000. I'm going to pay you. It's going to take time, but I'm going to pay you, I promise." "Liam," he turned. "I don't want promises anymore. I want facts. When you have the money, pay me. Meanwhile, don't look for me. You've caused enough damage." I saw how his eyes filled with tears. "I understand." He walked away slowly, hunched over, as if the weight of the world were on his shoulders. Susan hugged me. "It's over, Eleanor. It's over." But it wasn't over. The process of learning to live with the son I lost was just beginning. Frank approached. "Mrs. Robinson, thank you. Thank you for helping me recover what was mine. Thank you too. Without your testimony, maybe I wouldn't have won." We shook hands, and we left that cold courthouse into the afternoon light. But the true test wouldn't be the trial. It would be everything that came after. What happened when Liam really lost everything? And what I discovered about myself in the process. The foreclosure and auction process took 2 months. 2 months where I heard nothing from Liam. Matthew kept me informed of everything. The official appraisal, $170,000. The auction would take place in 3 weeks. Several buyers had already shown interest. "It's a prime location," Matthew explained. "It's going to sell fast and at a good price." I nodded, but a part of me kept aching. It was my son, his business, his dream. But it was also my retirement, my future, my dignity. One afternoon, 2 weeks before the auction, Susan arrived agitated at my house. "Eleanor, you have to see this." She showed me her phone. It was Chloe's Facebook profile. There was a new post: "When people show their true face, be grateful for the lesson and move on." Sometimes family is the most toxic. I freed myself from a manipulative marriage and a controlling mother-in-law. New life, new me. Number divorced, number freedom, number new beginnings. Divorced. So it was official. Chloe had left Liam. I checked more posts. There were photos of her in a restaurant with a new man. "New stage, better decisions," said the caption. I didn't feel satisfaction, only sadness. Chloe had been part of the problem, yes, but Liam had made his own decisions. The week of the auction, I received an unexpected call. "Mrs. Robinson? This is Daniela, from Mr. Matthews' office. There is a man in the office who wants to speak with you. He says it's important." "Who is it?" "He prefers to tell you in person. Can you come?" I went. In the office, a man of about 40 waited for me, dressed in work clothes. "Mrs. Robinson, my name is Joe. I'm a mechanic. I worked at your son's shop." I sat in front of him. "What do you need?" "You see, I found out about the auction. When Liam told us he was going to lose the shop, we employees got together. There are 5 of us mechanics who have been there for years. It's our livelihood." "I'm sorry," I said sincerely, "but I have no choice." "I understand, ma'am. Believe me, I understand. But I come to propose something. The 5 of us pooled our savings. Together, we have $50,000. If you give us time, could we gather more? We would like to buy the shop at the auction and keep operating it. It would be a worker cooperative." I stayed silent, surprised. "It's a good area," Joe continued. "We have a loyal clientele. The business is profitable. We just need it to be ours, without Liam, without debts. The auction is open," I explained. "I can't decide who buys." "I know. But we thought, if you could make a reasonable offer at the auction, win it, and then sell it to us in payments, it would be good for everyone. You would recover your money guaranteed, and we would keep our jobs." I looked at Matthew. "Is that legal?" "Totally. You can participate in the auction like any buyer. And afterwards, you can sell the asset to whomever you want." "And Mr. Miller?" "He gets paid his part from the proceeds of the auction immediately. The rest would be for you. And if you decide to finance the sale to these gentlemen, it is your decision." I thought, these men had no fault. They were honest workers, trapped in Liam's disaster. "How much could you pay monthly?" Joe took out some papers. We ran the numbers. "If we buy the shop for $170,000 and you already have your share from the auction, we would pay you the rest in, say, $3,000 monthly for 5 years. I did the mental calculation. $3,000 times 60 months was $180,000. More than the shop cost. Why would you pay more? Fair interest. And because it's our chance to own something, let me think about it." The day of the auction arrived quickly. It took place in a room at the courthouse. There were 4 potential buyers besides me. The starting price, $140,000. The bids began to rise. $145,000. $150,000. $155,000. At $160,000, only 2 of us remained. Me and a man in a suit who was clearly an investor. $165,000, I offered. The man looked at me, evaluating. He raised his offer. $168,000. $170,000, I said firmly. The man shook his head and withdrew. "Sold to Mrs. Eleanor Robinson for $170,000. The gavel fell. The shop was mine. The payment and transfer process took a week. From the amount of $170,000, $20,000 went to Frank Miller for his debt. $50,000 went to me for the original loan. $17,000 went to me for the bank debt. $25,000 went to me as interest and compensation. Total recovered, $112,000 of the $170,000. The remaining difference covered legal fees, taxes, and costs. In the end, I recovered my money completely plus compensation for the damage. Perfect mathematical justice. A week later, I signed a sales contract with the 5 mechanics. I sold them the shop for $170,000 payable in 5 years at $3,000 monthly. Now I had a guaranteed fixed income of $3,000 every month for 5 years. It was more than my Social Security. It was security. It was dignity. The first payment arrived promptly on September 15th. Joe came personally to bring the check. "Mrs. Robinson, you don't know how much we thank you. We are going to take care of that shop as if it were our child." "It is your child," I smiled. Now it belongs to you. That night I sat in my living room with hot tea, looking at the old photos. I didn't cry anymore looking at them. I only felt a gentle melancholy. I took the $25,000 of compensation I had received and decided to do something I had never done. Live. I booked a small trip, nothing luxurious. A week at the Grand Canyon, a place Arthur and I always wanted to visit, but never could. It was my first trip alone in 30 years. I walked along the rim, ate good food, visited the skywalk. Standing there, looking at the vastness, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. You did it, Arthur, I whispered to the wind. I defended myself, like you asked me. I also used part of that money to help Susan with a hip operation she needed. She cried when I gave her the $5,000. I can't accept this, Eleanor. Of course you can. You were with me when no one else was. This is just a small part of what you mean to me. With another $8,000, I created a small aid fund in my neighborhood for single mothers or abandoned elderly women. Every month, Susan and I gave between $300 and $500 to a family that needed it. It wasn't much, but it was something, and the rest I saved for emergencies, to never be vulnerable again. But something was missing. Closure with Liam was missing, and when it came, it was in a way I never expected. 6 months after the auction, it was a common day, February again, an exact year since this nightmare began. I was watering my plants on the patio when my phone vibrated. Unknown number. I hesitated, but I answered. Mom? It was Liam. His voice sounded different, smaller, broken. It's me. Long silence. How are you? He asked finally. Good. And you? Surviving. I'm working at a shop here in Street Louis. Just as a mechanic, not an owner. The owner is good people. He pays me $800 a week. I rent a room in a boarding house, $800 a week. The same he earned before having the shop. And Chloe, she married the guy she was seeing. I saw the photos on Facebook. They look happy. I'm sorry. I'm not. Now I understand she never loved me. She only wanted what I could give her. When I couldn't give her more, she left. Like I did to you. Long silence. Mom, I'm calling because I want to apologize for real. Not like in court. This isn't because I want something. It's because I've had a lot of time to think, to understand what I did, to live the consequences. And what did you understand? That I was a terrible son, that I used you, that I betrayed you, that I preferred to impress a woman who never loved me instead of caring for the only person who loved me unconditionally all my life. I felt a knot in my throat. I also understood, he continued. Why did you do it? Why did you sue me? It wasn't revenge. It was survival. It was dignity. It was teaching me a lesson I never learned the easy way. Liam, let me finish, please. I need to say this. I've been rehearsing it for months. I waited. You destroyed my life, Mom, and mine too. But the difference is that you had the right to defend yourself. And you did. And now I live with what I deserve. Nothing. No business. No wife. No luxuries. Just a small room, an honest job, and the consequences of my decisions. You don't deserve nothing, I said with a soft voice. You deserve to learn. And it seems you are learning. You think? I don't know, Liam. Time will tell. Silence. Mom, will you ever be able to forgive me? I closed my eyes. That question was the hardest. I don't know. Maybe. But not today. It still hurts a lot. I understand. I just wanted you to know I'm working to be better. To be the son I should have been from the beginning. I'm glad to hear it. Could I call you from time to time? Just so you know I'm okay. I don't expect you to always answer. I don't want you to think I disappeared again. I thought carefully about my answer. You can call. Once a month. No more. And in those calls, I only want to know that you are working honestly and living with integrity. I don't want drama. I don't want to be asked for help. Understood? Understood. Liam? Yes? I'm glad you're working. I'm glad you're paying your consequences. But above all, I'm glad you finally understand what you did. Me too, Mom. I love you. Even if I don't have the right to say it. I love you too. Although not in the same way anymore. We hung up. I stayed on the patio, phone in hand, Processing. I hadn't forgiven. I wasn't sure if I ever would. But at least now, there was honesty. There were no more masks. 3 weeks later, an envelope arrived at my door. Inside was $500 in cash and a handwritten note. Mom, I know I still owe you a lot. This is the first payment. There will be payments every month. It's going to take years. But I'm going to fulfill them all. It's not the money. It's the promise. With love, Liam. I kept the money. I kept the note. Every month for the next 30 months, an envelope arrived with $500. Sometimes the note said, Month 8, moving forward. Others, Month 15. Thanks for giving me time. Or simply, Month 22. I love you, Mom. I didn't answer the envelopes, but I didn't reject them either. In Month 18, Liam called me. Mom, I met someone. Her name is Hannah. She's a teacher. Simple, hardworking. I told her everything I did, what I did to you, and she didn't leave. She said we all deserve second chances. I'm happy for you, I said sincerely. But this time take care of her for real. Not with money, with respect. I will, I promise. In month 30, the last envelope arrived. Inside was $500 and a photo. It was Liam and Hannah together. She looked kind, with a genuine smile. He looked calm. He no longer had that tension in his shoulders he always carried when he was with Chloe. The note said, Mom, this is the last payment. Debt settled. But there is another debt I will never be able to pay completely. The damage I did to you. I just want you to know that the man who did those things doesn't exist anymore. I have changed, not because I lost everything, but because I finally understood what matters. Hannah and I are getting married in June. It would be the honor of my life if you came, but I will understand if you don't want to. I love you. I will always love you. Your son, Liam. I looked at that photo for a long time, and then I called Susan. Sue, I need a new dress. I'm going to a wedding. The wedding was small, in a public garden in Street Louis. Only 30 guests. When I arrived, Liam saw me and his eyes filled with tears. You came. I came. I confirmed. But not for you. For me. Because I needed to close this chapter. Hannah approached. She was even prettier in person. Simple, without excessive makeup, with kind eyes. Mrs. Robinson, it is an honor to meet you. Liam has told me everything, and I want you to know that I will never let him forget the value of family. Never. I hugged her. Take care of him. But take care of yourself, too. Don't lose yourself in him. I promise. The ceremony was simple. Beautiful. When the judge asked if anyone opposed the marriage, there was total silence. This time, Liam had chosen well. In the small reception, Liam approached me. Mom, can we talk a moment? We walked to a corner of the garden. I want you to know something, he said. Everything I lost, the shop, the money, the status, was the best thing that happened to me. Because losing all that, I found myself. I found what really matters. And what is that? Living honestly, valuing the right people, and understanding that real wealth isn't in what you have, but in who you are. I nodded. You learned the lesson, then? The most expensive lesson of my life, but the most important. Liam, I'm not going to forget what happened, but I am willing to try to build something new. Not like before, something different, with clear boundaries, with mutual respect. Boundaries? Yes. You will never ask me for money again. You will never involve me in your financial decisions again. And if you disrespect me, I will disappear from your life without hesitation. Understood? Understood. But within those boundaries, we can try to be mother and son again. Little by little, a sob escaped him. Thank you, Mom. I don't deserve this opportunity, but I swear I won't waste it. I hugged him. For the first time in almost 3 years, I hugged my son. It wasn't the same hug as before. It was more careful, more conscious, but it was a hug. And sometimes, that is enough. 3 years have passed since it all began. 3 years since that call from the bank that changed my life forever. I am sitting in my living room, the same one where I cried every night years ago. But now it is different. There are new plants in the windows, new photos on the walls, and a peace I hadn't felt in decades. The $3,000 monthly from the shop keep arriving punctually. Joe and his partners turned the business into something prosperous. They even opened a second location last year. All thanks to you, Mrs. Robinson, Joe told me on his last visit. Without your trust, we would still just be employees. Without your effort, the shop would be worth nothing, I answered. You did the work. I just gave you the opportunity. I use part of that income to live comfortably. I no longer count pennies. I no longer worry about medicines. I can buy the bread I like without feeling guilt. Another part, I continue investing in the community aid fund. In 3 years, we have helped 14 families, single mothers, forgotten elderly, people who needed just one chance. Susan and I became volunteers at the community center. We give talks on family financial abuse. It is surprising how many people live situations similar to mine. I thought I was the only one, a 70-year-old lady told me last week. I thought it was my obligation to endure. It is not an obligation, I answered her. It is a decision, and we can decide differently. Liam calls me every Sunday, visits once a month. He always brings something small: bagels, flowers, a new photo. Hannah is pregnant. They are going to have a girl. They will name her Eleanor. You don't have to do it, I told him when they told me. But we want to, insisted Hannah. We want our daughter to carry the name of a strong woman, of a woman who knew how to defend herself, so she learns to do it too. And I was left speechless. Being a grandmother again scares me, but it also excites me. This time, with boundaries, with clarity, without becoming an ATM or a savior. Frank Miller became my friend. We have coffee every 2 weeks. We share stories of how our children taught us the hardest lessons, but we learned, he always says, and now we are stronger. Arthur is still in his photo in the living room. Sometimes I speak to him like before. I did it, my love. I defended myself. I set boundaries. I found my strength. And I swear his smile in the photo looks brighter. Yesterday, while organizing the closet, I found Liam's old album, the photos from when he was a child. I looked at them without crying, only with soft nostalgia. That child got lost somewhere along the way, but the man he became is trying to find himself, and that is enough. I closed the album and put it on the top shelf. The past is there. I accept it, but I no longer live in it. Life taught me something crucial in these years. Loving your children doesn't mean sacrificing yourself for them. It means teaching them to be people of integrity, and sometimes, the best teaching is letting them face the consequences of their actions. I also learned that forgiving doesn't mean forgetting. It means letting go of the poison, letting go of the resentment that sickens the soul, but keeping the memory that protects you from repeating mistakes. And the most important lesson: your value doesn't depend on how much you give, but on how much you respect who you are. For years I was the mother who gave everything expecting nothing, and I thought that made me a good mother. Now I know it made me a vulnerable mother, a used mother, an exhausted mother. The good mother isn't the one who lets herself be destroyed. It is the one who teaches boundaries with love, the one who says no when it is necessary, the one who defends herself, showing her children that defending oneself isn't selfishness, it is dignity. This morning, before writing this last part of my story, I went out to the patio with my coffee. The sun was just rising. The sky had that pink color I like so much. And I felt grateful. Grateful for the pain that taught me, for the betrayal that strengthened me, for the loss that liberated me. Because in the end, I didn't lose a son. I gained a life. My life. Complete, free, dignified. And that, after all, is the only thing that really matters. Final message. If this story touched your heart, if you saw yourself reflected in my words, or if you know someone who is living something similar, leave me a comment telling me where you are watching us from and what impacted you most about this story. Like if you believe self-love isn't selfishness, but survival. And subscribe to the channel to keep listening to real-life stories of real women who learned to defend themselves. Because true wealth isn't in what you possess. It is in what you don't allow them to take away. Your dignity, your peace, your value, and that no one can snatch from you unless you let them. The end.